Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update.
Good Monday afternoon to you. It's Lynn Lee with you on the Afternoon Update. Now, recently, the Monetary Authority of Singapore set up an equities market review group to introduce tax incentives with the aim of boosting more listings and investments in the local equities market. One of the first proposed measures include tax incentives to attract more enterprises and fund managers to list in Singapore and incentivize the launch and growth of funds with substantial investments in domestic equities. What are the potential developments that could catalyze the domestic equities market? And concurrently, there is the newly introduced global minimum effective tax rate of 15% for large Singapore multinational enterprises starting 2025. The move aligns with the Global Base Erosion and Profit Shifting 2.0 initiative, or commonly known in the industry as BEPS, led by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, in an effort to address tax challenges posed by the digitalization of the global economy and reduce profit shifting practices that erode tax bases worldwide. So, how can Singapore stay competitive and improve its ability to attract global investors? How can tax measures be enhanced to support Singaporeans and businesses in the face of challenges from geopolitical uncertainties, technological disruptions, and climate change? In Budget 2025, how will tax policies potentially impact industries? And what should businesses be preparing for? For more perspectives and expertise on this, Desmond Teo, ASEAN Financial Services Leader at Ernst & Young, joins me now. Great to have you on the show again, Desmond.
Hi, Lindy. Great to be back. Always enjoy our conversations.
Now, I hope you've been well since we last spoke, which was almost a year ago around this time too.
The world seems to have changed, and a year seems a long time ago.
I know. Time just flew past, and so many things have happened since then. Desmond, before we get into what sort of tax enhancements businesses might be looking forward to with Budget 2025 just hours away from being delivered by the PM, I'd like to get you to share with our listeners the focus areas or themes EY has identified to be particularly important to chart Singapore's next lap of growth.
Sure, Lindy. If we have to look at Budget 2025, this is going to be an interesting budget for a few reasons. If we have to break it down into external factors and internal factors, on the external front, we have geopolitical considerations, and that impacts, for example, expanding supply chain for MNEs, and also countries dealing with cross-border digital security and resilience. We have green transitions, Singapore trying to meet its ESG commitments, bringing along ASEAN, and also in the context of Singapore's natural constraints. And of course, there's the digital evolution that's ongoing, and AI, being a big theme for Singapore in Budget 2024. And we do think that will be a key theme for 2025 as well. And then, of course, on the internal aspects itself, cost of doing business and cost of living in Singapore remains high. This year is SG60, and it's time to celebrate Singapore's achievements, recognize contributions by Singaporeans. And lastly, not to be forgotten, is election year. So we do think that, among other things, when we talk about the year of the snake, one must embrace transformation, renewal, and rebirth. And I think this will similarly apply to Singapore and Singaporeans alike.
Desmond, I think one of the top wishes on the EY list is actually getting more support for R&D and digital economy. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. If we think in terms of research and development, this often involves a lot of commitment from the companies, whether that's in terms of financial or in terms of talent and resources, etc. And as with R&D, you could runway for R&D in order for it to show results could take a long time. So in an environment that we are in today, where there's still a lot of changes with regards to business models, how the industry will evolve, and also with some economic uncertainties in the horizon, companies do need a partner in taking on R&D to adapt, adopt, and innovate. And the government would be a key partner or stakeholder in supporting companies to undertake R&D, whether that's in the form of the digital economy or in terms of ESG. So we are looking forward to seeing what gets announced in Budget 2025 tomorrow.
But given the uncertain global outlook, would you think that this is still a pro-growth budget?
I do think it is, and it's a question of where are the areas that are the big bets for Singapore. Now, if we are to look at Singapore, we've done well, it's SG 60, but the world has changed. With it are new opportunities, and Singapore has really embarked on the journey to transform since 2024. So if we have to look at two main areas, one will be the digital aspect, and specifically with regards to artificial intelligence. So if in Budget 2024, Singapore has already announced, for example, 1 billion committed to AI over the next 5 years for AI computing, talent, and industry development, and, for example, 5 billion for future energy funds to support investments for Singapore's energy transition. So those are some of the war chests that the government has started to put in place, and we hope to see that we continue to build upon that and help Singapore transform to be ready in the new world ahead, which is digital and green.
Earlier, I spoke about the base erosion and profit shifting 2.0 initiative. With many regional countries also supporting the collection of a global minimum tax of 15% from large multinational enterprises, I think Thailand is probably the latest one to introduce that earlier this year. What do you think Singapore can do to differentiate itself from other regional financial hubs in 2025?
If we are to take a step back and look at Singapore, we may be one island and we may have a population of only 6 million. But we do have a lot going for Singapore. And so in terms of our value proposition to foreign direct investments and also global M&Es, it goes beyond just tax incentives. Along with that, we have a strong, educated workforce with strong work ethics. We have a strong force of law, and with a deep financial services hub, which is essential for any business centers that aim to be global. So we do need to look at what we can offer to MNEs, as a holistic value proposition. And along with that, in last year's budget, for example, Singapore, in helping MNEs adapt to the new world of BEPS 2.0 Pillar 2, we have this regime that is called the refundable investment credits that has been introduced, which in essence, looks at the government co-funding and supporting enterprises impacted by Pillar 2 to continue to invest in Singapore, create jobs, and have economic activities out of Singapore. So these are some of the measures that's out there. Along with that, where we look at the theme of high cost of doing business in Singapore, we are also seeing the government taking various measures in terms of trying to make Singapore competitive and create a comprehensive package for enterprises operating within ASEAN. And case in point is Johor Singapore SEZ, where it aims to then create a value proposition leveraging off the strengths of Johor and Singapore and winning together and winning global investments into the region.
All part of maintaining a very relevant tax system, I suppose. Now, last year when we spoke, I remember us discussing Singapore's position as a family office hub in the region, as well as the developments in this space in terms of tax incentives. I know you have some thoughts on single family offices being EY private tax leader in the ASEAN region. So what can be done to improve things on the single family offices front and to stimulate perhaps more investments managed from Singapore?
As you know, single family offices is a passion of mine. I think the MES and Singapore has done well in terms of growing this sector, at least in the last 8 to 9 years, and they have always gotten industry inputs from advisors such as ourselves, and that has helped to keep the regime relevant. But as things are, change is only constant. And in the world today, when we look at single family offices, there are some wish lists that we are looking at that will help make our tax regime more relevant to single family offices. One, we are always looking forward to the inclusion of insurance policies to be treated as a designated investment under the tax exemption regime, simply because insurance policies are an integral part of investments and wealth transition for families. That's one. The other area relates to cryptocurrencies and digital tokens. That is a asset class that's increasingly becoming mainstream. You are seeing a lot of investments in this space, both in terms of the opportunities and also in terms of hedging for a number of the family offices based out of Singapore. At the moment, cryptocurrencies and digital tokens are not included as designated investments that enjoy the tax exemption in Singapore. We are hopeful that this will also be included at some point in time, because it then allows the families to be able to invest across a diverse array of assets.
You mentioned SFOs in Singapore perhaps leveraging insurance policies as an important component of wealth planning.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so in terms of insurance policies today, they do go beyond just life insurance, medical insurance. They could be investment-linked investment policies, etc. And it is also an important part in terms of planning for wealth transition in jurisdictions where you might have estate duty or you have inheritance tax considerations. Insurance policies become an important tool in planning for estate duty or inheritance tax that might actually be imposed. So, in order to develop Singapore holistically as a family office hub, insurance policies is an integral part of the planning and a tool which should ideally be included in our tax exemption regime.
And you think that will help boost the broader financial sector as well?
Definitely. On a few fronts, number one, it creates the market. Insurance products is already a key component of the financial services sector. Having this will certainly boost that, and you'll add to the breadth and the depth of the products that has been offered as well in Singapore.
Okay, thank you so much, Desmond, for your insights today. Desmond Teo, ASEAN Private Tax Leader at Ernst & Young. Pleasure speaking with you and appreciate your time.
No mention, Lindy.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.